Hey guys, this is Tyler here. It is December here in Estonia, and I'm going to talk to everyone about why PUA is not as common for Generation Z guys out there. So anyone who doesn't know about PUA, this is pickup artists, and essentially these are guys that meet women, they interact with them, and their main objective, honestly, is to try get them in the bedroom for some action. And yes, some of them absolutely do seek relationships, do seek marriage, but it's not as common. Often used to their game in these countries. Rushdie was a very well-known guy in this movement, and there were many others. There was Richard from Street Attraction, among others. They had some very interesting content, and I used to follow them. I still follow Rush, and there was certainly some basics that I learned from all of these guys. Even areas that weren't just for relationship purposes, but also for other life areas like business and marketing and knowing how to sell yourself. Because a lot of this is based on psychology, on psychological cues. It's very much a behavioral science, the core of this area, this discipline. And it, of course, takes practice. Execution is key with pickup. But I have noticed that pickup is not nearly as common for Gen Z like it was for millennials and even Generation X. It absolutely happens, more so in some countries than others. But I think it's really, the movement is not as big, and it continues to decline with each passing year. And this is likely due to many reasons. Generation Z, of course, they've been technology connected their whole lives. They've been social media, they've had computers, normal cell phones, and many other things that even millennials didn't have until they reached a certain age. This is their main means of communication, of facilitating dialogue, probably more so than even face-to-face connection. This has made many of them prefer online contact more so over face-to-face contact. And this is the main reason, I think, why many Gen Z young people don't do pickup. It's something that I think millennials, being that in Generation X, at least in their early years, knowing how to facilitate a relationship in person was very essential. And also, I think there was probably a level of boldness, confidence that was higher for Gen X and Gen Y guys that's not quite as high for Gen Z guys. And this also may be due to other factors like males in terms of how they're being treated, like in the classroom, by society. They also have more of them than any other generation probably in history has been raised by single mothers or in households without any father figure. And this is worldwide, this epidemic. It's terrible. Obviously, most single mothers don't know how to teach these traits to their sons, or effective traits that actually can create a relationship in terms of initial dialogue and how to approach the first steps with face-to-face interactions and relationships. And so many guys, I think, they utilize the technique of using their phones, using computers to create a relationship, or try to. Maybe what they end up doing is just becoming some kind of troll for a girl that they're interested in. I will be honest here. When I was around 17 years old in high school, this was some years ago, over 10 years ago, one of the first gals that I was very interested in, she was a high school classmate of mine. She, I thought, actually was really interested in me. And this is one of the reasons why I think pickup does have some utility even for younger guys. And having face-to-face dialogue is important. When I met her, she was on the same team as me. We were on a team together, a sports team, and I was at her home. There was kind of a party going on, and I spoke to her mom. My brother and I were some of the last people to leave. This one night, it was like in September, October of 2009. I was like, yeah, she seems very interested. She was in the same grade as I was, and I got her number and then proceeded to make contact. It wasn't to pursue a relationship, but I not that long after, I mean, really quickly, I then started basically expressing my interest in pursuing her, like for a relationship, not realizing that she really wasn't into me. And I thought she was. I didn't have enough experience with cues and understanding real interest level. Also, I relied too much on the cell phone. I should have been more forthcoming in person, not had any of it recorded on the cell phone. That was one of the first big mistakes. And what happened though is I made a big embarrassment of myself. I then did the typical beta move. I totally over pursued her, and just, it was really embarrassing. I pursued her, I think, for like maybe 2 months in this kind of fashion. Finally, I just stopped. It was, I think, shortly after Christmas time. But unfortunately, at that grade level, that age level, I mean, all your classmates, they see it and they know about it, and it was just embarrassing, honestly. Unfortunately, being in a small town, small high school, honestly, I couldn't totally escape this until I finished high school, and I was actually very glad when I was done with my junior year for that reason alone, because it was just something I didn't really like to have a lot of drama from these situations. And I would have just rather got pushed away. But unfortunately, at that age level, and when you're in those kind of environments, that doesn't happen. But it was a big lesson for me that not to overuse a cell phone or a computer when you're in those first phases of trying to start a relationship or go out with a girl. Just use face-to-face, especially if you guys are in a mutual environment. No, the other thing, people can't record unless they have a recorder. They can't record your messages. Like, if you have a phone, it's all stored. They can go and show to people gossip and all this other nonsense. If it's verbal in person, you won't have this problem. But this is just one area along with this. So I think the younger guys are not as desiring a relationship just because they aren't that interested. Many guys just don't have an interest in having any kind of relationship, honestly. Maybe they're not attracted to the girls they're with. They see it as too much a risk. There's all these like girl power movements going on, and guys have been kicked out of universities. This has been quite common in the past few years because been accused of all these ridiculous things, and this is a big threat for younger guys. They don't want to be the next one on the line, or for guys that are in the workplace, because they start pursuing like face-to-face gals that they work with or customers or anyone in the workplace setting, and they can risk losing their job. And this is a big risk for many guys out there. It makes sense from a practical side why they want to take these enormous risks and lose their job, be kicked out of university or anything else, possibly be incarcerated, sent to jail or prison. And I think also the ability to get this endorphin hit, unfortunately, it's very accessible online. I mean, we can find almost all of the content, this kind of spicy content, you might say, online, more accessible than ever before. And that is actually a big factor in also why the millennial generation was not as keen on relationships as Generation X. And this is also true with Generation Z. It's just, this is a huge segment of the internet, unfortunately, and it's there and it's free, and often guys may get their hit through these websites, and that's probably another big reason here. And I think another one is the fact that most guys don't see their future with a family, with having a wife and kids. They've been brought up in a, as I said, dysfunctional household background, and they don't see that it's a viable possibility. So they're like, what's the point of pursuing a girlfriend if none of this other stuff can even happen? And where politics, economics, and many other factors of society are going, more and more Generation Z people just have less optimism about possibilities in the world. This is a worldwide problem, and they are more concerned about just day-to-day survival, I think, in many countries. And time will tell with this. Perhaps in due time it will increase, but for the time being, I don't see that. So give me your feedback below, and thank you.